Jae-sung sat in the large meeting room, feeling bored. He was a low-level human diplomat who had been sent to observe the Galactic Council meeting. The council was made up of many different alien species from all over the galaxy. The meeting started out normally, with each species taking turns to speak. But soon, arguments broke out. The aliens began to shout at each other angrily. They accused each other of breaking trade agreements and other offenses. Jae-sung tried to follow what they were saying, but it was hard. The aliens spoke quickly in their strange languages, and even with his universal translator, their issues seemed silly to Jae-sung. They were fighting over minor problems that could easily be solved. As the fighting got worse, some of the aliens declared war on each other. Apparently, a full-scale galactic war was breaking out. The different alien factions formed alliances against each other. Jae-sung couldn't believe it. These advanced alien species were acting like children on a playground. They were so quick to start a war over the smallest quarrels. He found it hard to respect them. When the chaotic meeting finally ended, Jae-sung returned to his ship. He sent a quick report back to Earth, informing his superiors that another galactic war had erupted. But he doubted it would be big news back home. Humanity had long ago moved past such immature behavior. They had learned to cooperate and live peacefully as they developed advanced technology and explored the stars. Petty infighting was a thing of humanity's past. In contrast, it seemed like the alien species were still stuck in their old ways. Jae-sung almost felt pity for them. They had technology that let them travel the stars and meet other civilizations. And yet, they still couldn't get along with each other. Jae-sung predicted that the galactic war would drag on, maybe for years or even decades. The aliens would pour their resources into destroying each other. Meanwhile, humanity would continue to prosper and advance. At times like this, Jae-sung was glad to be human. He lived in a society that valued peace, cooperation, and scientific progress. He didn't have to worry about his species getting caught up in foolish wars. As he piloted his ship back to Earth, Jae-sung felt grateful. Grateful that he had been born human, and grateful that humanity had created a stable, prosperous civilization, while the rest of the galaxy struggled with chaos. It would be an interesting report to give when he got home. But he doubted many humans would be surprised by the news. It was just more of the same from the fractious aliens. Jae-sung wondered if the aliens would ever learn, if they would ever grow up and stop fighting amongst themselves. He hoped so. Maybe one day the galaxy could be peaceful, with all species working together like humanity did. But he wasn't holding his breath. Change could take a long time, and the aliens seemed to have a lot of growing up to do. Jae-sung was just happy it wasn't his problem. Let the aliens fight their war. Humanity would keep on thriving as usual. Min-seo was a young woman who worked as a freighter pilot. Her job was to fly a big spaceship filled with cargo between different planets. She loved her work and was very good at it. When the Galactic War started, Min-seo wasn't very worried. Her spaceship was much more advanced than the alien ships. Their weapons couldn't even scratch her hull. Flying through a battle was no more dangerous than flying through a light rainstorm for Min-seo. In fact, Min-seo's job got even better during the war. Many of the alien planets were running out of supplies because of all the fighting. They were happy to pay high prices for the cargo that Min-seo and other human freighter pilots brought them. Sometimes, an alien warship would stop Min-seo and demand that she pay a toll to pass through their space. The first time this happened, Min-seo almost laughed. The amount of money they were asking for was so small compared to what she was used to. It was like they were children playing pretend. But Min-seo always paid the tolls politely. She knew the aliens were just trying to feel important. There was no need to upset them by refusing. Besides, to Min-seo, the tolls were just a small business expense. As she traveled from planet to planet, Min-seo saw the effects of the war firsthand. Many of the alien worlds were in bad shape. There were damaged buildings, fleeing refugees, and always a sense of fear. Min-seo felt sorry for the aliens. They were suffering because of the choices of their leaders. Leaders who cared more about pride and power than about their own people. It all seemed so pointless to Mincio. But there wasn't much she could do to help, other than bringing them the supplies they needed. Mincio knew that getting involved in the war would only make things worse. Humanity was wise to stay neutral. Despite the war, Mincio's life didn't change much. She still flew her routes, delivered her cargo, and earned her living. When she was back on Earth between trips, she barely even thought about the conflict raging in the stars. To Mincio and most other humans, the Galactic War was distant news, something to maybe watch a short report about before going back to their own lives. It didn't affect them much, and they were content to leave the aliens to sort out their own problems. Some of Mincio's alien customers would ask her why humanity didn't join the war. They would beg for human help to defeat their enemies. Mincio would just shrug and say it wasn't humanity's way. Getting involved would only pull humans down into the same cycle of violence. The aliens found it hard to understand. To them, humanity's advanced technology could decide the war in an instant. They couldn't grasp that humans had no desire for such power over others. Mincio would explain that humans preferred to focus on exploration, trade, and peaceful development. War was seen as a silly waste of resources. The aliens would listen politely, but Mincio could tell they didn't really get it. As she flew off to her next delivery, Mincio would think about those conversations. She knew humanity's way was better, but she could understand why the aliens struggled to see it. When you're trapped in endless wars, peace can seem like an impossible dream. Mincio hoped that one day the aliens would find their way to that dream. Until then, she would keep on flying, a little piece of peaceful human civilization passing through the stars. Yunji was excited. She had just booked a trip to see the Galactic War up close. As an adventurous human tourist, she always wanted to experience new things. And what could be more exciting than seeing a real space battle? The tour company advertised the trip as a chance to witness history in the making. They promised close-up views of the front lines, all from the safety of a luxury cruise ship. Yunji couldn't resist. As the ship took off, Yunji mingled with the other tourists. They were a diverse mix of humans, all eager to see the spectacle of the war. Many of them were already betting on which alien faction would win. But as they approached the battle zone, Yunji started to feel disappointed. From a distance, the fights just looked like brief flashes of light against the dark nebulas. There was none of the drama or excitement she had imagined. The tour guide explained that the aliens were fighting in quick skirmishes. They would fire a few shots at each other, then retreat to repair and regroup. There were no grand space battles like in the movies. Yunji tried to stay interested as the ship jumped from one battle site to another. But it was hard. The aliens seemed to have no real plan. They just attacked randomly, without any clever tactics. She had hoped to see amazing alien weapons and technologies in action. But everything seemed so primitive compared to what humanity had. The aliens were using lasers and missiles that humans had outgrown centuries ago. As the days went on, Yunji grew bored. The beauty of deep space was some consolation. The swirling colors of the nebulas, the glitter of distant stars. But even that couldn't hold her attention for long. Many of the other tourists felt the same way. They had expected so much more from a galactic war. Now, they just wanted to go home. Yunji decided to spend most of her time in the ship's immersive VR gaming center instead. At least the simulated wars there were exciting. She could lead her own space fleet into battle, using tactics and weapons far beyond what the aliens seemed capable of. As she played, Yunji wondered how the aliens had even made it to the stars with such backward thinking. Humanity had learned to work together and pool their brilliance to reach the cosmos. But the aliens still sought each other as rivals to fight. It was a shame, Yunji thought. With all their different skills and technologies, the aliens could achieve so much if they cooperated. Instead, they were wasting their potential on a pointless war. By the time the cruise ended, Yunji was more than ready to go home. She felt like she had seen more than enough of the Galactic War. It was a letdown, not the adventure she had hoped for. Back on Earth, her friends asked her what the war was like. Yunji just shrugged. "Boring," she said. "The aliens don't seem to know what they're doing. I had more fun in the VR games." Her friends laughed, not surprised. To them, the war had never been more than a distant curiosity, a little bit of alien drama to gossip about, nothing more. Yunji decided that next time she would stick to human-made adventures. At least they knew how to give her a good thrill. As for the Galactic War, she was happy to leave that disappointment far behind her. The aliens could keep their lackluster battles. She had better things to do. Young Jun was a scientist. He studied advanced physics and technology. His work was very important to him. He was always trying to learn more and make new discoveries. One day, Young Jun needed to go to a university on an alien planet. He was going to work with a scientist there. They were going to do research together. But when Young Jun got into his spaceship, he had a problem. There were so many other ships in space. They were all filled with aliens trying to get away from the war. These ships were blocking his way. Young Jun was annoyed. He had important work to do. He didn't have time for all these delays. It took him much longer than usual to get to the alien planet. When he finally arrived, the alien scientist was surprised. "I didn't think you would come," the alien said. "Because of the war, you know." Young Jun just shrugged. "The war is not my problem," he said. "I have research to do. That's more important." The alien scientist was amazed. For him, the war was the biggest thing in his life. It affected everything he did. But to Young Jun, it was just a small annoyance, something that got in the way of his work. As they worked together, the alien scientist asked Young Jun many questions. He wanted to know why humans didn't care more about the war. Young Jun tried to explain. He said that humans had learned to focus on progress. Things like science, art, and exploration. War was a waste of time and resources. It held everyone back. The alien scientist listened carefully. He had never heard anyone talk about war like this before. On his planet, war was a way of life, something that could never be escaped. But Young Jun's words made him think. Maybe there was another way. Maybe if his species focused on research and progress like humans did, they wouldn't need to fight so much. As their work came to an end, the alien scientist thanked Young Jun, not just for his help with the research, but for showing him a different way of thinking. Young Jun was happy to help, but he also felt a little sad for the alien. It seemed like such a simple idea to him, to put learning and discovery first. He wished that all the aliens could understand this. On his way back home, Young Jun thought about his experience. The war had been a small problem for him, but for the aliens, it was everything. It shaped their whole lives. Young Jun was glad that humanity had moved past that kind of thinking. He was proud to be part of a species that valued knowledge above conflict, even if it meant dealing with some traffic on the way to work. As he flew through the stars, Young Jun looked out at the distant battles, the flashes of light that marked the alien war. He hoped that one day those lights would go out forever, that the aliens would find a better way like humanity had. But for now, Young Jun had his own work to focus on, his own discoveries to make. The war would continue, but so would human progress. And in the end, Young Jun knew that progress would always win. It was just a matter of time. Kyung-soo was a commander in the human space military. He was in charge of protecting Earth and the other human planets. It was a big job, but Kyung-soo was very good at it. One day, Kyung-soo got an alert. A group of alien ships was coming towards Earth. They were moving fast and seemed to be in trouble. As the ships got closer, Kyung-soo could see that they were damaged. Many of them were leaking air and fuel. It was clear they had been in a big battle. The aliens sent a message to Kyung-soo. They said they were running from an enemy fleet. They begged for help and protection. Kyung-soo thought carefully. He knew that getting involved in the alien war could be trouble, but he also didn't want to leave the aliens to die. In the end, Kyung-soo decided to help. He told the aliens they could stay in orbit around Earth's moon. There they would be safe under the protection of Earth's defense systems. The alien ships gratefully accepted. They limped into orbit, trailing debris and sparks. Kyung-soo could tell they were amazed by the advanced human technology. The Earth defense platforms floated silently in space, more powerful than any alien weapon. Not long after, the enemy alien fleet arrived. They demanded that Kyung-soo hand over the refugees. When he refused, they attacked. But the alien weapons were no match for Earth's defenses. The human platforms easily shot down the alien missiles and beams. The attacking ships were soon reduced to ruins. The surviving alien attackers fled. They couldn't believe the power of human weapons. They had never seen anything like it. Kyung-soo watched them go. He knew he could have destroyed them all if he wanted. But that wasn't the human way. The alien refugees were amazed. They thanked Kyung-soo over and over. They said they owed him their lives. Kyung-soo just shrugged. Helping those in need was the right thing to do, even if it was a little inconvenient. Over the next few days, human engineers helped the aliens repair their ships. The aliens were shocked by the kindness. They were used to other species trying to take advantage of them. As the aliens prepared to leave, they asked Kyung-soo a question. Why didn't humans use their advanced weapons to conquer the galaxy? With power like that, they could easily rule over all other species. Kyung-soo laughed. The idea seemed silly to him. Why would humans want to control others? That would just cause more problems. He explained that humans preferred to focus on exploring and learning. They wanted to make friends with other species, not enemies. War and conquest were a waste of time. The aliens had a hard time understanding this. In their experience, the strong always tried to dominate the weak. But they could see that humans were different. As the alien ships flew off, Kyung-soo hoped they would remember this lesson. Maybe they would tell other aliens about the kind, powerful humans. The ones who could have conquered the galaxy, but chose not to. Kyung-soo watched until the ships were out of sight. Then he went back to his regular duties. For him, it had been an unusual day. But he knew that for many aliens, it had been a turning point, a glimpse of a different way to live. Maybe, little by little, the aliens would learn from humanity's example, and maybe one day the galaxy would be a place of peace and friendship, not war. It was a nice dream, even if it was still far away. Dae-yeon worked as an immigration officer on Earth. Her job was to help aliens who wanted to come and live on human planets. Usually, it was a pretty quiet job. But not anymore. Ever since the Galactic War started, more and more aliens were coming to Earth. They were running away from the fighting and the danger. They hoped to find safety with the humans. Dae-yeon and her co-workers were very busy. Every day, more alien ships landed. Every day, more aliens came to Dae-yeon's office, looking for help. Most of the aliens were scared and tired. They had lost their homes, their possessions, and sometimes even their families. Dae-yeon felt sorry for them. She did her best to help each alien. She found them places to live and food to eat. She helped them learn about human society. It was a lot of work, but Dae-yeon didn't mind. She knew the aliens needed kindness. But some of the aliens were difficult. They complained about everything. The food, the housing, the rules. They seemed to think that humans should give them whatever they wanted. Dae-yeon tried to be patient. She explained that humans were doing their best. But there were so many refugees, and resources were limited. Everyone had to share and cooperate. Some aliens didn't like this. They said that humans had so much advanced technology. Surely they could provide more luxury for the refugees. Why should they have to live in simple housing and eat basic food? Dae-yeon sighed. She tried to explain that human technology was meant to benefit everyone, not just a few. Humans believed in equality and fairness. Just because they could create luxury didn't mean they should. It was hard for many aliens to understand this way of thinking. In their societies, the strong and the wealthy always had the best of everything. The idea of sharing and equality was strange to them. Daeyeon wondered why the alien species fought so much. With all their differences, surely they could learn from each other. Surely they could find ways to live together in peace. But she knew it wasn't that simple. The aliens had been fighting for so long. They had so much anger and mistrust. It would take a long time for them to change. Still, Daeyeon hoped that living among humans would help the aliens. Maybe they would see that there was another way to live, a way based on cooperation and kindness, not competition and conflict. Some of the alien children gave Daeyeon hope. They were so curious about human life. They made friends with human children and learned to play and share. They weren't so set in the old ways of thinking. Daeyeon knew that change wouldn't happen overnight. But maybe, with time and patience, the aliens could learn. Maybe they could take the lessons of humanity back to their own planets one day. As she watched a group of alien children playing with human ones, Daeyeon smiled. They were laughing and having fun together. In that moment, all their differences didn't matter. This was what humanity had to offer, Daeyeon thought. Not just advanced technology, but a way of living together in harmony. It was a precious gift, one that the aliens could carry with them. The war would end someday. And when it did, maybe the aliens would remember their time on Earth. Maybe they would remember the kindness and the peace. And maybe, just maybe, they would choose a different path. Daeyeon hoped so. But for now, she had work to do. There were more aliens to help, more lessons to teach. The future would come in its own time. All Daeyeon could do was her best in the present. And that was enough. The Galactic Council was in trouble. The war had gone on for so long. So many had died. So much had been destroyed. And now, the council members were very few. They didn't know what to do. In desperation, they sent a message to the humans. They asked for help. They wanted the humans to come and stop the fighting. They wanted the humans to make peace. The message arrived on Earth. The human leaders met to discuss it. They knew that getting involved was a big decision. Humans had stayed out of the war for so long. Did they really want to change that now? But as they talked, they realized they couldn't ignore the council's plea. The war had gone on too long. Too many were suffering. If humans could help, they should. So the leaders chose a representative. His name was Seo-jun. He was known for being wise and fair. They sent him to meet with the Galactic Council. When Seo-jun arrived, the council members were nervous. They knew how powerful humans were. They worried about what Seo-jun would say. But Seo-jun spoke calmly and kindly. He said that humans would help bring peace, but there would be conditions. First, all the fighting had to stop immediately. Second, all sides in the war had to agree to talk and find a solution together. And third, they had to promise to never start a war again. The council members were surprised. They had expected the humans to make demands, to take control. But Seo-jun didn't want that. He just wanted the war to end. Quickly, the council agreed to Seo-jun's terms. They sent messages to all the alien leaders. They told them to stop fighting at once. They said that humans would be watching. To the council's amazement, the fighting stopped. The alien leaders were afraid. They knew how strong humans were. They didn't want to make them angry. Over the next weeks, Seo-jun helped the aliens talk. It wasn't easy. There was so much anger and pain. But slowly, they started to listen to each other. Seo-jun showed them how humans solved problems. With discussion, compromise, and understanding. He showed them that fighting wasn't the answer. As the aliens talked, they started to see things differently. They started to see how much they had lost in the war, how much they could gain by working together. It took time, but finally they reached an agreement. They would share resources fairly. They would cooperate instead of fight. They would learn to live in peace. The Galactic Council was amazed and relieved. They thanked Seo Jun over and over. They said humans had saved the galaxy. Seo Jun just smiled. He said he was happy to help. But really, the aliens had saved themselves. They had chosen a new path. As Seo Jun prepared to return to Earth, the aliens made one last request. They wanted to learn more about human ways. They wanted to understand how to live like humans did. Seo Jun agreed. He said humans would be happy to teach, to share their knowledge and their way of life. It would take time, he knew. The aliens had so much to learn, but they had taken the first step. And that was the hardest part. As his ship flew back to Earth, Seo Jun felt hopeful. The war was over. The galaxy was at peace, and humans had played a part in that. It was a good feeling, a feeling of accomplishment and hope. Seo Jun knew there would be more challenges ahead, but for now, he could be proud. Proud of what humans had achieved, and excited for what the future would bring. Life was getting back to normal for the humans. The Galactic War was over. The aliens were learning to live in peace. It was a time of hope and healing. Jae-sung, the human diplomat, was back at the Galactic Council, but things were very different now. Before, he was just an observer. Now, he was the most important member. The alien leaders all looked to Jae-sung for guidance. They asked his opinion on everything. They wanted to know what the humans thought. Jae-sung tried his best to help. He gave advice when they asked. He shared human ideas about cooperation and progress. But it wasn't always easy. Sometimes the aliens argued. Sometimes they fell back into old habits of mistrust and competition. Jae-sung had to be patient. He had to remind them of the lessons they had learned. But slowly, things were getting better. The aliens were learning to work together. They were starting to see the benefits of peace. Jae-sung was proud of the progress they had made. But he knew there was still a long way to go. The aliens had lived with war for so long. It would take time for them to truly change. But Jae-sung was willing to help. For as long as it took, it was important work. Work that could change the galaxy forever. As he sat in another long council meeting, Jae-sung's mind started to wander. He thought about his life back on Earth. His family, his friends, the simple joys of human life. In some ways, it all seemed so far away. The concerns of Earth felt small compared to the issues of the galaxy. But in other ways, Earth was always with him. The values and ideas he had learned there guided everything he did. Suddenly, Jae-sung remembered something. His favorite sports team was playing a big game today. He had been looking forward to watching it for weeks. He looked at his watch. The game would be starting soon. If he hurried, he might still catch the end. Jae-sung stood up. The alien leaders looked at him in surprise. He quickly explained that he had an important matter to attend to on Earth. He asked them to continue the meeting without him. As he left the room, Jae-sung couldn't help but smile. Here he was, rushing off to watch a game, while the fate of the galaxy was being discussed. It was a reminder of what made humans special. Even in the midst of great responsibility, they never lost sight of the things that brought them joy. As his ship sped back to Earth, Jae-sung felt a sense of contentment. He had done his part to help the galaxy. And now he could enjoy some well-earned rest. He knew the challenges were far from over. The aliens would need human guidance for years to come, but that was a worry for another day. For now, Jae-sung was going to cheer on his team. He was going to eat his favorite foods and laugh with his loved ones. He was going to enjoy all the little things that made human life so precious. And when he returned to the Galactic Council, he would bring that spirit with him. The spirit of a species that knew how to work hard, but also how to find joy and meaning in the simplest of moments. That was the real gift of humanity. And it was a gift that the galaxy needed now more than ever.